You're back with the single malt review as we conclude our foray through the offerings of Jack Daniels.
Yes, indeed. In our residing in our little makeshift ice bunker here, courtesy of Ardbeg merch. Cheers, Ardbeg. Though how you're supposed to actually drink whiskey out of one of these monstrosities, I'm really not sure, but it's good for keeping things in. I think you can hold about 500 mils in one of those. Oh, this is their
Jack Daniels Tennessee Honey. It's something you notice often in American whiskey, bourbon in particular, but also clearly in Tennessee whiskey, is using it as a component in a honey liqueur. And that's the case here. Jack Daniels made a honey liqueur, then cut it with a healthy measure of their whiskey to make a very sweet, but a mild 35% alcohol, well, liqueur, basically.
And pretty popular stuff. Almost everyone's got all American whiskies anyway, have got a honey liqueur option. Even Wild Turkey's on board now. And they're usually the last to move for sort of American whiskey fads. They normally hold out a bit longer, but no, they've everyone's all in on that. And it's something I really, really tend to hate, because I don't like massively hyper sweet things, and so this represents almost everything I don't like in a whiskey. So I'm going to adulterate mine straight away with a as I almost lose the cube there, with an ice cube, because I think that will help.
They do mention on the label guff that it's recommended for mixing or as served straight but chilled, hence our little ice bucket. Now I've tried, I think, approximately one American whiskey based honey liqueur before. It might have been the Wild Turkey, I don't remember, it was a few years ago now, possibly a decade ago. So yeah, not a lot of experience in this field, unless you count the hilarious Cinnamon Fireball, which is based on Canadian whiskey. I tend not to count that.
Did they have honey in it? I didn't think it had honey in.
Nope, it had lots of sweetener, lots of artificial cinnamon flavour.
Anyway,
yeah.
So, this smells conspicuously like, and correct me if I'm wrong here, Dave, McDonald's hotcake syrup.
That is exactly what I'm getting. I was trying to place
so real.
That vaguely,
It's spooky.
Yes, the fake maple syrup that they serve you at McDonald's with your pancakes.
Which is odd, because not honey. Not trying to be honey.
No, unless there's something very peculiar about America's bees and their particular sources of pollen for their honey, which I somehow doubt.
So, 1 points for my nose being able to pick up the most horrifying tasting notes in the world with supreme accuracy. If only I was so good at doing it with, good ones.
We know there is a maple influence in Jack Daniels Tennessee whiskey because they use charcoal from the maple tree.
They certainly do.
To filter their whiskey. So perhaps through some arcane means, those maple characters have been reawakened, brought back from the dead, and brought to the fore by their inclusion in a honey liqueur. This is a bit odd. I would doubt that.
So, all right, and that's almost where it begins and ends for me.
Yes.
It is McDonald's hotcake syrup, and that's really the dominant and almost the only note there. Now that it's one of these cannot unsmell things. The moment I thought about it, and
despite being only 35% ABV, it still smells quite harsh. It is quite sharp on the nose.
Mine probably less so since I have ice in it. And one of Mingus's hairs, I now see, but hey, whatever, it's good for you.
Oh. Yep, that tastes sweet and artificial and honeyed with the barest hint of whiskey in the background. I'm going to add some ice just to, I don't know, to hope for the best, I guess.
Okay, so if there's not maple syrup in here, artificial, natural, or otherwise, I would be seriously surprised. I don't know what they feed their bees on over there, if not, but that is the very idea that this could both smell and taste like drinking maple syrup and not have some aspect of maple in it, that's insane to me. So why this isn't called a honey and maple, I really don't know.
I guess unless that there is actually, I can taste honey underneath there, like a very watered down.
There'll be honey in there. It would be pretty surprising.
It's just the addition of the other elements, like the Tennessee whiskey, has pushed it in this all maple all the time direction. I was hoping maybe a bit more vanilla, a bit more of actual whiskey flavour.
I mean, I think it's there, but as I was, this kind of goes back to what I was explaining with I think it was the Gentleman Jack. When your sweet flavours are very, very sweet, they cover up everything else because our palates are naturally attuned to taste sweet.
Yeah.
Because that's what they're after. The human journey is to seek out sweet things at all times.
It's a good survival strategy.
Yeah.
Lots of sugars to keep the old hunter-gatherer hunting and gathering longer.
So the moment the palate tastes real, strong, genuine sweetness, it's like, oh, well, here we are, we'll just eat this. Don't worry about all these other aspects. Let's just get these goodies in here, get these calories. And so tasting any nuance is very, very difficult when you've got sweet flavours that are very, very, very sweet. And there's just no way around that. Even if you've got some sort of super palate, there's just really, really difficult.
Now, I have to say, trying this before I added the ice cube, when this was only mildly chilled, it was much less sweet. Adding the ice cube has brought that sweetness out even more. It's turned this into a properly syrupy, just purely liqueur-y condiment of a beverage.
So, I wouldn't want to imply that it's horrible. It's not horrible. It's like drinking alcoholic McDonald's hotcakes syrup. And I'll enjoy a plate of McDonald's hotcakes as much as the next guy. Nothing wrong with that. I wouldn't want to drink this for any length of time because it's way too sweet. This is something I would have perfectly happily over an ice cream, not in a glass.
It's a liqueur. Have it as part of a dessert and you're away almost certainly laughing.
If you're into your puddings, drizzle this over a trifle or something. Get it into a sponge.
Have it on ice cream. Go nuts.
Probably all sorts of culinary aspects of this. I won't score it because it's not really. It's not even. It doesn't. It's not even in the. It has supplied incorrect credentials to the competition and is thus not eligible for a score. I know we scored Drambuie, but that was more legible.
Did we even put a score on Drambuie, or did we just try it and offer opinions?
Oh, I don't know.
I can't even remember.
It was a long time ago. But either way, I would have no basis because I just don't drink stuff like this. But I'll say it is not offensive, but it is not a whiskey. But then again, it doesn't say it's a whiskey. No. It's a honey liqueur. So
yep. But you can't be very careful not even to mention that it contains. It says honey liqueur from the makers of Jack Daniel's Tennessee whiskey. So yes, it contains traces of whiskey, some not insignificant percentage. It's a sweet liqueur. If that's what you want and that's what you're going to serve, then hey, it does what it sets out to do. It just tastes alarmingly like slightly artificial maple syrup in the process.
So ending with a quite a bizarre note from the Jack Daniel's lineup. Otherwise, pretty illuminating on a little sort of sub-region, subculture of American whiskey. And it's not the only one. Before everyone sort of falls over themselves to tell me I must try, Colorado whiskey, Washington whiskey, all these other things. I know there is this great resurgence in the sort of indie spirits scene all over America.
I've had some Washington whiskies that have been amazing.
Yeah, your Covals and all your sorts of things. And I have tried them here and there. They're very, very, very difficult to source here in New Zealand. And when they do show up, they can be wildly, wildly expensive. So they are on our blips on our distant radar, but we certainly haven't forgotten about them. And we'll do our best to have a look at these sort of indie whiskies that come out. But nonetheless, we'll keep you stocked up with bourbon in the meantime. That's easy to get, and I quite like it. And the more I drink of bourbon, the more I sort of feel I understand it and enjoy it. I feel a bit lacking if there's no bourbon around the house, at least in some capacity. These days, it just fills this big hole that never used to be there, the bourbon hole. But bourbon holes aside, I think that's probably about all we have usefully to say about Jack Daniel's. I hope that was of some. I hope seeing some non-American whiskey drinkers stumble their way through a completely different facet of American whiskey gave some perspective that you might otherwise have gotten lost in the American noise. But if not,
we're definitely being clouded by our preconceptions based on our experience to date of bourbon. That's definitely given us a starting point. It's not necessarily fair or accurate for trying Tennessee whiskey as a style unto itself.
Yes,
but I think we've definitely given it a go and approached it as openly as we can. And to say the single barrel select especially had a lot going for it.
Anyway, if you have opinions, please give them to us.
Yeah.
I do try to respond to everything on YouTube. We have a Facebook as well. Dave is in charge of the Facebook, so if something's wrong, complain to him on that one. And I'll keep you busy on the YouTubes there. I do try and respond as often as I can. Luckily, we're still small enough that that's still a human task. One day it might not be, but for now, you can keep me at that. And like and subscribe and all the other YouTube gaff. And we will be right back. And I promise this time it will be a Scotch whisky, like the channel might have facetiously implied. We will be right back with that one. Slanger, thank you very much for watching. We'll be right back. Probably said right back 3 times now, but whatever. Blame the McDonald's whiskey.